This is the Healey Brothers Show.
Today we're going to talk about to help everyone understand vehicle values and the appraisal process and like how we do it here at Healey. So it's myself, Jason Healey, and Dylan Healey. And Jason and Dylan are really going to drive this one because they know more about this than myself. So if you guys just want to jump right into it about like what determines a car's value.
Yeah, well, I say we even backtrack and we go with the two systems that we primarily
Yeah, we'll start with that.
Yeah, there's two systems that we use. The KBB Instant Cash Offer. That's one that you could even find on our website when you try to get a value on your trade. And then the one that we use primarily to appraise vehicles when they're on site is vAuto. And then when it comes to pricing vehicles, we use a vAuto integration called Profit Time, which they rolled out, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. The KBB Instant Cash Offer is pretty easy to use tool. It's one of the most trusted tools by consumers when they're looking at the value of their used vehicles. So it's just Kelley Blue Book. You go on, you have your VIN, you have your mileage,
or license plate.
Yep. And then there's just a condition report basically that you could fill out. The vAuto is a little more integrated. It drills down to trim level. And that's really where you're going to get to see the market of the vehicles that fit that, the exact vehicle model, make, and trim level. So that really helps you when you're trying to put a value on a vehicle, just to see what vehicles are selling for in the market and what vehicles are, trading at for the most part.
Yeah, you're seeing their auction prices from different auctions. You're seeing the retail prices locally. And also when we structure this and when we're putting a number on a vehicle or giving the customer the best possible value for their vehicle, is we're doing our market. We're not putting hundreds and hundreds, thousands of miles and showing the whole United States. Yeah. So we're trying to keep it somewhat in a reasonable area so we get accurate data so we can give that customer the best possible value. So a lot of times it's not just what the customer thinks. They're going on and say at cars.com and they're seeing the vehicle down in, say, Texas or Florida. That's a couple $1,000s more or something like that. So we try to price for the market because we want to retail that vehicle as well. So that's another thing customers have taken into account. And also on the KBB side is one thing we always tell the customer. When you're doing it, it takes 3 to 5 minutes to do it. It's a great tool so a customer has an idea of the value of their vehicle because it's a Cox Automotive product and they have the auctions and all that stuff. But is to be honest when inputting the information. How is your vehicle condition? Does it have dents and dings all over the place that have scratches? Is it perfect condition? I know everyone likes to say their vehicle is perfect, but the more honest you are is the more realistic we could be, and then we could really go over the vehicle with you as well. So that's another thing when you're doing on your own, just be honest about it. Get that value, and then we go from there if you ever want to check your value on of your vehicle on yourself. So
right, and another thing, the thing about KBB is that it's a national site, right? Like where Jay said that we like to get localized. We like to... vAuto allows us to drive down even 20 miles around our radius.
Well, I know KBB does ask you for your zip code, so I don't know if they take that into account. They might. I know they ask you for your zip code.
So they slightly take it into account, but they're doing it on the national level because they're a national brand. So it's giving like and also a lot of times it'll give you like a range kind of your vehicle because it doesn't know exactly, doesn't know if you're exactly a fair to good vehicle or the vehicle's in bad condition. So it is a number, but they sometimes give you like a range.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's a great tool. Don't get me wrong, and it's also very, very trusted by. I mean, I think if you ask any consumer, they know what Kelley Blue Book is, which is great.
Right.
Yeah. If you want to continue with what you were saying though about vAuto.
Yeah, but vAuto will let you literally drill into it. It'll let you go out. In our area, we see a lot of Hondas, Toyotas, Chevrolets, Kias, Hyundais. It'll let you go out 20 miles, and the more localized you could get, the more accurate you could get with your number, and when I say number, I mean the appraised value of the vehicle. So vAuto is the go-to for all of our stores. And it's I would say for most stores in the country, they use vAuto.
It's a phenomenal product.
Right.
And so now vAuto is just something on the dealer level, right? Like that's not something for the consumer yet.
Yep. It's a software. I believe it was acquired by Cox Automotive.
So it's owned by Cox Automotive, which is another Kelley Blue Book. So they do work hand in hand with each other. So they are using a lot of data to get to these numbers, and it's very, very. So yes, a person's involved, but we're using this data and and the technology to give this customer the best possible experience and the best possible number on their trade.
Right.
Because obviously we want them to buy another vehicle, so we're going to go above and beyond to get them the new
Well,
vehicle.
trade-in value matters.
I mean, we'll buy vehicles, but at the end of the day, we do want them to them to buy a new vehicle.
Yeah, the trade-in is probably the most important part of a vehicle transaction.
Yeah. So if you want with the trade-in, like after you speak on what you're saying, I don't mean to cut you off. Then go into like what determines the vehicle value, like after the fact. But continue what you're saying. Then I would say segue into the.
Yeah, I mean, when everybody comes in and they're selling us a vehicle, everybody wants top dollar. No matter what it is, they got a quote, from a competing dealer, or they went on to Carvana, Cars.com, and they put in their VIN number and the mileage, and it gave them the top number if the vehicle was in perfect
Well, they want retail too.
Yeah.
They want retail, but they don't understand we're trying to retail that vehicle, which is a...
Right. And that's one of the other things you got to look at. When that vehicle comes onto your lot, you almost know, within a few minutes getting in the car, hearing how it runs, you're going to appraise the vehicle for either wholesale, where you're going to go look at Manheim auctions, or you're going to appraise the vehicle for retail. So you got to put a wholesale number on it. And right away, you should know that. Condition of the car, wear and tear, how the motor sounds, how the transmission's shifting. You should really know that, how many miles are on the vehicle. And
so these are some of the factors. So age of the vehicle matters. The mileage of the vehicle matters. The make, model, your market matters of the vehicle. Then obviously condition. We're walking around with the customer saying, hey, there's dings and dents. It's not cheap to fix major scratches and bumpers and rims. Everything has gone up in price. And we explain that. We set that expectation with the consumer too, which is super important.
Yep.
Sometimes they think it's $50. There's nothing that's $50 to fix anymore.
No.
It's hundreds of dollars at minimum. Obviously the vehicle history. Has the vehicle been in accidents? And that's why we use Carfax, the most trusted brand in America with accidents and service reports. So that's a key thing. People but use your insurance on it. So you did get an offender bender. There's no structural damage, but that still affects it, because people want to see a vehicle history report if they're buying a used vehicle, if we're trying to retail it. So that's an important thing when going to value a vehicle. I mean, we take everything into account. Everything's in front of us, and then we make the decision on where to price a vehicle, and we show the customer, hey, this is where we're at. We explain everything. We set their expectations, and we go from there. So that's really what determines the value of vehicle overall.
Right. Tire tread.
Yep.
Where the
Tires
brakes
are also not cheap.
No. Yeah. You're talking about $200 a tire. Right there, you're $800 before you have to mount and balance and do an alignment on the vehicle. If the tires are worn, typically you're going to be doing the brakes, because they kind of wear at the same time intervals as one another. But there's a lot of factors that go into an appraisal car.
And also, I do want the consumer to know is when we take in a trade-in vehicle, it could be in great value, but it still goes through our shop no matter what. We still have to inspect it, and we're putting our name on a vehicle, and it has to have the quality to pass our quality test to be put and retailed. Right. So it's not just like we're slapping a sticker on it and it's going to the front line. It's going through the full process in the shop to make sure it's safe and it's ready to go for that next customer to purchase.
Now, this is why trade-in values and retail prices are different.
Correct.
Yep.
Because that process factors into the value of a vehicle to determine on if it's quality enough to be sold at retail value.
And also, we're in business to make some money. To make money,
Like
we have
profit.
to operate. Yeah, so it's not like sometimes I just want to explain. Like we're upfront with you. Like we need to turn a profit so we can keep the lights on, pay our employees, our staff, and everything. So that's why it's like that. We have to put the right number on it so we can get it through the shop, make it safe, put a phenomenal product out there to have it retailed again. Right. It's just a cycle that we have to do to continue. Like I said, to keep the lights on.
Yeah, no, literally. So is there anything else you guys want to let them know about the appraisal process when I guess more specifically when the customer comes in? What's their expectation of it? Like what's the step-by-step that they're going to see when they come in? Right.
A lot of our stores are trained to start at the trade. We start at the trade, one, because the customer is most comfortable at their trade. Not a lot of customers are comfortable at a salesman's desk negotiating, doing that kind of stuff. So you walk out and you do a trade appraisal with the customer.
Weather bearing. We don't make them
yes, weather bearing, yeah. But yeah, you basically go out there with the customer, take all the information of the vehicle, mark down any dings, dents, wear and tear, the tread depth of the tires. You can't really tell the brakes from just looking at it, but like I said, the tread depth of the tire will give you a decent indication of, where those where those brakes are actually at, which is interesting. And then, you take whatever data you compiled, ask the customer a couple questions about their vehicle, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. And then, you take all that information, you give it to the sales manager to then go into our system and basically see their vehicle, see how it does in the market, whether it's a wholesale piece, a retail piece, and then you go from there.
Yeah. Also, we're asking questions too. Like, we want to know if you just did brakes, if you just did tires.
Right. That helps the value of the vehicle.
Hey, I actually just got taken care of these little dings and dents. That's why it's clean. The rims are done. Right. So we want to know that information. It helps the value of your vehicle.
Right.
Obviously, we're going to check it again in our shop and everything, but those are little things we really like to know. And obviously, if you have the service records or if you service with us, it's a big win.
Because
service is huge. Because then when you go on Carfax, you see every day interval and everything is listed on Carfax.
So we also know, like, wow, this person really took care of their car. They were never, it wasn't a lease. They just drove through and grinded that thing down till. So there's a lot of things that comes into it, and we want to know and we want to hear the value from you, what you think about your vehicle as well, because we all know you spend the most time in your home, and the second most time is probably your work or your car, depending on your commute. Yep. Like, you're always in it.
You probably spend the second most time in your car.
he's just as out of the car. Yeah,
driving a lot.
We're love driving.
Yeah,
we're drivers.
So now, what should people prepare before they come into the appraisal process? Obviously, there's some documents that are involved that need to bring with them, but if you want to list off that stuff that they need to have prepared with them when they come in for that.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to need your title. We absolutely prefer a second key. Saves us about $400 or $500.
That's on the light side, to be honest. Yeah.
Right. But for the most part, that's it. Now, if you're trading in somebody else's vehicle, that goes to different lengths where, you might need a couple more documents in order to do that. But
what kind of documents would those be?
Now, there's special occasions where somebody, there was a death in the family, and the will states that so and so is going to receive, whether it's the vehicle or the house, but we're just talking vehicles here. So you're going to need a letter from an attorney to be able to trade in that vehicle on their behalf,
or sell the vehicle, because you want the
whatever.
Cash.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
That happens.
But yeah, there's those are rare occasions, but for the most part, that's something that we deal with, a few times a month at least. But
yeah, that's at all stores. It does happen. Because the family wants to get rid of they don't have a need for it, and they
extra car.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's siblings involved. They split the money, so that's
definitely happens.
So
but
for the most part, it's make sure you get your spare key and documents.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
else
obviously, if the car, if it's a disaster, we recommend just cleaning it up a little bit. But it's not the end of the world. We'll take care of it for you. We'll go through it.
Right. You don't need any servicing documents, because that's the great thing about Carfax and V-Auto is that they integrate with each other. So you get to see the Carfax, see where it was serviced, where it was done, what they had done, what intervals did they have it done. And that's something when we're appraising a vehicle we have to take into an account. It's not just us buying the vehicle, but it's going to be who's buying the vehicle from us that they're going to look at. That's something that if I'm looking for a vehicle, I'm looking at the Carfax. I want to make sure that the vehicle, if it was in an accident, I want to make sure it was repaired correctly. Or, I want to make sure that the service intervals are correct. Every 6, 7, 8,000 miles, they're getting their services done, brakes are done, tires are done. Those are things that consumers check daily, especially if they're looking for a used vehicle. They want to make sure that who had it before them, they were taking care of that vehicle.
I mean,
it's important to us too, because we want, like I said,
my purchase process.
Absolutely.
When I look at cars and
1,000%,
and a lot of dealers now, what's it called, Carfax Lifetime Dealer, whatever the term they use, and you can view the Carfax reports on their website.
Yep.
If I was to go in and I look at a car, I think it was with whether it was my Focus, I don't know, but it was it had so many service records at a Ford store. Right, so that made me comfortable with purchasing that car because I saw all the records were at that store.
Right.
So that stuff is definitely important for people. Some people might not care. They don't really care if they see the service records or not, but that's something that goes into my purchase process, is if I can see that it was serviced at a dealership or not.
Yeah, and I think that you're part of the mass. Yeah. I would say that matters to a lot of people, so.
Also, one quick thing, I know this is a little off topic. Also, if you don't own the vehicle outright, we will also let you know the equity you have in your vehicle, the value compared to what's left on your payments as well, finance, which is
very
very
important.
important.
With leases, what about if we have someone? Because aren't there certain states where if you lease a car, you don't have the physical title, right?
Correct.
New York State being one of them.
And Jersey.
So now,
So all pretty much all the whole tri-state area is like that.
Right.
so now, how does that differ with what you need to bring in with your trade-in? Like, does that matter at all? Like, how does that get?
So what's funny about leases and trading in a lease is that before COVID, having equity in a lease was never even a thing.
Very rare.
Right. And now, don't get me wrong, there's still some vehicles that might have equity in their vehicle.
Or
when
there's
they
a
lease.
program like the pull ahead program where
Right.
you get the little bit of
Right.
extra
But,
juice.
there was never equity in leases. And now, since COVID, people do an appraisal on their vehicle or put it into KBB. They might look at the value of their vehicle as more than what their payoff is. But when you're getting out of a lease, especially off-brand, you have to make sure that the new vehicle you're buying, that dealership, that brand is able to purchase that lease that you're trading.
Or termed at Honda without a penalty or a fee or something like that, because
Right.
that becomes an issue. So there's certain brands, like I would say VW is one. They don't let us take care of it. You have to. We could bring it back for you, but sometimes there's like a penalty involved, or they make you pay a fee. So those run into an account. Luckily, we have a lot of brands where we don't run into that issue too much, but we do have the Toyotas and Hondas that are make it a little bit difficult, and it's gotten a little harder since COVID because they want to have control of the supply of vehicles, the leased vehicles. So
Right, and that was the main thing during COVID. These manufacturers almost protected their vehicles and made sure that they got back to their dealers because they were scarce.
They
The
needed the
vehicles, new
inventory, yeah.
vehicles were scarce, so they wanted those vehicles to go back to their dealers, which,
So now, is
that's
there
off to
anything
the
that
manufacturers because that's a good play.
that's a good play.
for sure? Is
You
there
need
anything
more
that
stores to control it.
Do the customers need to bring in anything if they're doing that with a lease, or is that something that we're able to work with other dealerships and find in terms of like the titles and whatnot? Like,
It is dependent on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's depending on the OEM too, and so the OEM dictates it, but we have good relationship to bring the vehicle. and
so
term it at
if it's a
places.
vehicle that we're able to buy out, whatever term you want to use,
Yeah.
there's nothing the customer actually has to bring in for the
Nope.
lease, right?
No,
Okay.
we could look over it. We could get
besides
all
the
that.
second key.
yeah.
But second key is important.
Also, when they're calling in, we're informing them like, hey, look, if you need anything, we'll let you know as well before. You get instructions. We're not just like you show up empty. Like, we'll help you out so you're not.
Right. And for the most part, our
Busted.
sales managers at all of our locations knows which vehicles they can buy and which vehicles they can't buy.
In
and
terms
then we
of
kind of
leases,
in terms of leases, yeah, specific to leases, yeah. And then we kind of game plan around there. We'll consult with the customer. Hey, you're going to have to, ride out your lease for the next 2 payments, turn it into, let's say, BMW or Mercedes or something like that. And then you could come over to us. Yeah.
I mean, because technically, in simple forms, you're leasing the vehicle, you're renting it from the OEM, from the manufacturer. So when you're financing it, you own it. That's your car. So
totally different ballgame.
yeah, I mean, we can call the banks. We can get your payoff of how much you owe, or how many payments you have left on the financing, and then you kind of compare it to the equity, the value of the vehicle, and you can kind of get there. And sometimes another issue there is the customer thinks their vehicle, they don't have that many payments left, or there's a mismanage, and they actually owe more than the vehicle's worth still. So they run into that issue, and we'll help you with all that stuff as well when it comes to appraising your vehicle and showing that. But
Right. And during COVID, that's what the funny part was, is that when you're leasing the vehicle, like Jay said, you're essentially renting it. It's not your vehicle to take the equity out of, but cars were so scarce that people had the ability to take the equity out of it.
they were having
and roll-
$5,000
right,
sometimes. It
right.
was crazy.
It was crazy.
I want to say when we did one of the episodes on that, I want to say the average number was like $5,600. It was like the average equity that people had in leases come 2020 or whatever year,
Right.
2020, 2021.
Right. It was a very weird market. And now we're kind of at that balancing act to now where people are trying to get out of their leases a month or two early, and they're not in an equity. They're in an inequity position. So we, as a smart dealer, you're not going to buy some of these off leases because you can't retail it. What happens is that you end up, with a payment, 2 payments, 3 payments that you're going to have to, potentially roll into a new lease or just ride that lease out. So that's what we're starting to see a lot more often.
Yeah, just ride the lease out, either buy it at the end of it or just term it and get a new lease.
Yeah.
And just send it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I mean, would we love to buy all the off-lease vehicles because it's lower end, like lower mileage? Yeah, it's just sometimes it's impossible with the way the market is, and obviously they roll. But I mean, let's just like summarize this real quick with appraisal process, putting values on vehicles. It's really the consumer can do a lot and get some idea of it online. And at the end of the day, it's not always going to be accurate.
Right.
You need to be truthful with the vehicle. And then when you come in, we all use technology. We use the market. We go over everything with you. We're very transparent in the appraisal process. We walk around the vehicle with you. We'll show you everything that we came up with. And it's expensive to fix cars. So take that into account. And we want to retail every vehicle possible. So when we're doing that, we can't give you always the retail value on your trade-in at all. So those are some things just taking into account when we're appraising.
And that market's shifting daily. By the second, vehicles are coming into the market. They're being sold and going out of the market. You know, new vehicle incentives affect used vehicle. Yeah, they affect used vehicle values. So every second, every day, every month, you're seeing these shifts. And that's what we do on our part is we act according. And, you know, we price vehicles to...
We're watching it like the stock market.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like watching it like the stock market.
Exactly. And we're pricing vehicles to move them as quick as we can.
And the value of your car today, if you come to us and you wait on it, it might be different in a couple days. It really, like...
It probably will be different.
Especially in this market, it's all over. And also, like, we have rental companies now that unload 100,000 vehicles. That affects the market. Yeah. That affects the market like that.
Yeah.
Or
I can
Elon
think
Musk.
of the government incentive on used EVs. When we talked with Brian and affected the EV sales at Mannheim like overnight when they added that.
I mean,
the $5,000 incentive on EVs.
Right.
It changed the whole market overnight.
These OEMs can also go in there and drop price. They have control of the price. So like Elon Musk dropped his $10,000. Like,
and then used Teslas.
Yeah.
Go down.
The next day they took a $10,000 hit.
Just be aware of it. We inform you. We educate the customer always on it too. So that's another big thing. Like, don't feel worried. Customers like always feel worried and they think we're going to show you the data. We're going to educate you, and then we'll give you a great value for your vehicle. So
if you want to see the data, I don't think any sales manager in our organization is scared to show you the data.
Yeah.
They'll show you the retail price. They'll show you the miles of those vehicles that are selling, how long those, you could even see how long those vehicles have been sitting on dealers' lots.
To help you understand, why it's not.
And we'll explain that cars.com retail price. Like, hey, listen, this vehicle is down there. Look at the market in Florida.
Right.
There's less vehicles down there. So it's like, is what it is. Like, and we have no problem showing the transparent and being and educate you for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was awesome. I think this will really help people understand everything with that trade-in appraisal process and everything. So they'll definitely have a better idea of how all that works.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.